Hey everyone, Derpy here, back with another Battle Pirates video. This is my how to build a Zealot post-VXP weekend, doing all the testing that I've been doing. So, what we know right now is the VXP targets are our best look at the general format of the raid targets. They seem good enough to me. They don't seem like we can break it like we did with a super high evade build, what we did with the Punisher Mark II. So I think these are going to be an accurate build of the raid targets that we're going to see, at least in accurate format. Maybe the damage numbers are different, I don't care about, but everything should be working as intended right now. I have released a video as a VXP target breakdown, which can also double as a raid strategy guide, assuming things stay the same. So go ahead and watch that if you haven't already, and then you can come back to this one. So what we know right now is that we know the VXP target build, and I'm going to give you the best update, the best build that I have seen that has worked in these different targets, and I'm going to tell you how to build your fleet moving forward, and give you some partial build options too, in case we get more information, the targets are different, or we have another sort of special happening in Pillage. Let's go ahead and get started. So weapons are a fairly easy one, at least for the most part. You're going to want to use your Absolver Scattergun if you have it, because that's limited, and if you don't have that, then you'll be able to use the Pendant Scattergun too, which is the non-limited. The damage is about 20% worse, but if you have the Absolver Scattergun, use that, and go ahead and put that on 6 weapon slots on all your ships to start out with. The last 2 weapon slots are going to vary a little bit between each individual build. What you have to do as of one right is you have to put Missile Defense System 3 on 1 weapon slot for every single ship, otherwise you'll run into weight issues. The last weapon slot will depend on what particular ship you're building. I have slightly different builds I plan to run of ships 1 through 5 right now. Specials, 3 of them we know 100% easily. The first one you want to go for is the Sacred Artifact Engine, which should be a fairly standard one. This is limited, it's in the Forsaken mission, you can get 2 of them per week over 4 weeks, so you should be able to get enough for your whole fleet. If you do not have the ability to get the Sacred Artifact Engine, use Corrosive or Penetrative Sync Drive instead. It really doesn't matter which one you go for. I would say try to go for the Corrosive Sync Drive, although it really doesn't matter, and it's such an insignificant survival amount either direction, it doesn't matter too much. But Sacred Artifact Engine is the best engine that you can go for in this target. The first special slot you want to go for that's not the engine is the Full Focus Choke. This was in the raid, and it decreases your spread, so everything shoots closer together. You can kill the turrets with a more focused fire, as well as increasing your splash and then corrosive damage. Corrosive damage is multiplicative, which means that everything gets out of control and your damage number starts out getting really high. Right now you can see my corrosive damage is already at plus 730%. It's going to get up to about 4,000 by the end of the build, which is what you want. Because these targets are probably going to be tuned for a really high amount of corrosive damage. If you don't have the right specials, you will end up barely scratching the targets. As you'll notice, if you bring in a ship that's barely built into VXP, you're not going to do much damage to the targets at all. If you don't have Full Focus Choke, you can go for Narrow Firing Aperture instead, which also has a lower build time, although it is a worse special. The next special you're going to want to use here, special slot 3, is limited. You're going to want to use the Twin Fang Feeder, which adds multi-shot, projectile speed, reload, and more corrosive damage. If you don't have this, another option is the Lowered Cannon Mount 2, which will add some defense, some survival, although it won't add multi-shot, and it's not as good, and the slowing down is a big negative. So use Twin Fang Feeder. If you don't have that, you can use Lower Cannon Mount 2 as a second best option, although it's really not that good. Both of these are limited. I would expect some sort of TLC, maybe Pillage if you don't have Twin Fang Feeder yet. So right now, this is a 10-day build time minus whatever you already had done on the whole, and that's pretty good and will get you started. If you just want to build like 4 of these, that will be great. It starts to vary a little bit, and we can get some choices with the last couple of special slots. So one of them that I'm going to recommend is an Evade special. For my testing, Evade seems to work on most of the turrets. Again, I have a video out there, VXP target breakdown. You can watch that, and you'll know what I'm talking about with that. It also works against some of the ships. So Evade bonus, Evade very helpful. If your ship is being targeted, everything now has a 50% chance to miss. The next two special slots here can get a little bit more interesting. One of them, I'm fairly sure, right now my attack, my scattergun damage, my corrosive damage is at 1,460%. I'm going to put this special on that will pretty much double it, high volatility cartridges, and that will increase your projectile speed, corrosive damage, building damage, wall damage. Some other people are trying to use lowered cannon mount 2 in this, or excuse me, lowered penetrative mount in this spot because it gives you 15,000 of each survival, which does increase your time to live by a significant amount. Although the corrosive damage is, you just can't give that up. It's too much. I don't think that using lower penetrative mount is a good option here. You're just not going to be able to deal enough damage to the targets. The projectile speed from high volatility cartridges is also pretty good. The last special slot is going to change a little bit ship to ship, although right now I'm going to recommend using the limited corrosive battery. If you don't have this, then maybe the assault battery will be useful for you because it does add 25% corrosive damage, and instead of the 30% that corrosive battery 1 does. If you have your Saturns with those, maybe you can refit some off, maybe you can just scrap them completely, because Saturns are probably very obsolete at this point. So corrosive battery is a really good one for this slot. You'll notice that this ship has no countermeasure buffing special, which is a problem, and that's why I'm going to build each of my 5 ships differently. So on this ship, this is going to be ships, it should be 1, 2, and 5, are going to be built very similar to this. I'm going to add another scattergun here, so this is going to be my damage dealing ship that has a lot of corrosive damage. As far as armors, you're going to see that I'm going to go for the limited armors, the 2 ZM2 armors, and then the two ZCO2 armors. That's a mouthful to say. This will add some armor points as well as some corrosive damage plus 2%, which again is multiplicative, as well as some corrosive survival. This build here I'm going to recommend for ships number 1, your flagship, unless we see some crazy stat on that, and ship number 2, your another damage dealing ship. And I'm going to vary everything else a little bit. You'll see here that this is a fairly good all-around build. If you build 5 of these, you'll have no problem. I would honestly prefer to use another Absolver Scattergun in the slot right here, Missile Defense System 3, but if you try and do that, you will go overweight. So as you can see here, it's overweight, so you can't do that. So you have to run with a countermeasure or something lighter in that slot. So if you just build 5 of these, you'll do fine in the raid. Although you can do a little bit better and tweak this to have slightly better results. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you my build for my 5th ship. The change is very, very, very small. I'm going to take one of these ZCO2 armors, and I'm going to change that for a missile armor. Why am I doing that? And it also does go over capacity because I haven't redeemed them from the Forsaken mission yet this week. Why am I doing that? Because from my testing, the 5th ship appears to be targeted most often by many of the missile things, and it will take much more missile damage. For that reason, I am increasing the penetrative survival by adding 1 armor plate here. And that's going to be something really powerful that you can do to do better in the raid, change your 5th ship to buff against the damage type that's coming at it. Now, I'm going to wait a little bit on making this change. I'm going to build all my ships with just 2 armor plates for now. But my plan right now is to have three missile armors on the 5th ship because it will take more missile damage. Now let me show you my build for ships number 3 and ships number 4. I'm going to revert back to using 2 corrosive and 2 missile armor. And I'm going to build this as a countermeasure type ship. So I'm going to take one of the Absolver Scatterguns and move it to a Missile Defense System 3. I have 2 countermeasures on this, and I can't equip any more. These 6 weapon slots only let you equip the regular scatterguns. And because I'm going for more of a countermeasure build, and I'm going to end up changing the Corrosive Battery 1 out for a Countermeasure Loaders 4. Now, I tested changing out various different things. You don't want to change out Evade, you don't want to change out high volatility cartridges, it's just not worth it. So I'm going to go out and change this to Countermeasure Loaders 4. Other options include the include Gala defense system, which will add the same amount of anti-missile accuracy and anti-missile range, and will also add 1600 penetrative survival, but that number is just too small, and the plus 25% reload bonus to your scatter guns is actually pretty nice from this particular countermeasure loaders 4. So ships number 3 and 4 will be built this way. And this means that with I've tested and with a countermeasure loader special and the missile defense system 3 right here, you are able to shoot down all of the missiles from the Sentinel turrets, which is really, really powerful. So this is my build for ships number 3 and 4. I will make sure to post the hash code in the description with all the different ships, maybe even some pictures if I'm able to figure that out. On Facebook, I might post some pictures of my build by everything else. This is my plan of what to build right now. And it may change. Maybe the targets are completely different, although I expect not. Maybe the flagship gets released with some crazy ability, although I expect not. And maybe we get a new special in Pillage, although I honestly don't really see what the new special would be unless it somehow combined the countermeasure accuracy and the evade, which I don't see happening. That would just be too powerful of a combination. So if you have any questions on this build, you can go ahead and leave a comment below. I will note that I did test lower penetrative mount here instead of high volatility cartridges and found that to be ineffective. I tested all 5 ships with this build or some sort of variation based on that. I don't actually have 5 ships I can build right now in the game and have a complete build going, but I have done the best testing I have been able to. And I will note that the damage on ships number 3 and 4, the countermeasure ships, is lower if you don't go with Conquest Battery, but I think that it's worth it to buff the countermeasure range and accuracy and have these working better. I will also tell you that I tested using a damage diffusion special instead of Guidance Scrambler 3, which ends up having lower evade, and it gives you some splash damage reduction. I found that was completely wasted, and my ship with splash damage reduction took the exact same damage as my ships without it against these corrosive things. So I don't think that that's a very useful special to put on your hulls at all. So that's my build. Like I said, if you have questions, drop them below, and I will make sure to do my best to respond to any comments, and I will put my hash code as what I intend to build right now in the comments, and I will expect that in a month, 2 months, we'll end up building some different things. Things will end up changing around a little bit, so if you're watching this a couple weeks after this video is released, there might be a more updated build on my channel, and you should go and check that out if you want the most up-to-date information and you're watching this later. So there are 2 videos on screen for you to watch now, one most recent upload, one that's picked for you, as well as a subscribe button. Go ahead and click that, and let me know if you enjoyed the video by leaving a like. Anyway, as always, this is Derpy signing out, helping you be a better pirate.